wow. Well, I mean, you've got about 6 or 7 different guys on offense that you could look at. Stroud is obviously a candidate. He could throw for 300. I mean, you look at Penn State's defense, and they are in the top 5 or 10, I think, in scoring defense, 14.6 points per game allowed. And nobody has scored more than 23 points a game, I believe, in a game against them. I think Iowa had 23. And so points could be at a premium, although, is anybody going to slow down this Ohio State offense? I'm not sure. Should be a good test. If you put me, out there to say, who do you think it would be? Penn State has a good corner. I think Castro Fields, I believe is his name, a really good corner, a good safety, Jaquan Brisker, who's made some great plays for them on defense. Do they try and isolate Chris Olave and take him away? Does that leave Garrett Wilson or Jackson Smith-Njigba to go for triple digits? I don't know, but one of those two guys would be my pick. I'll say Garrett Wilson just because he could pop off a 7 for 120 and 2 touchdowns at any given moment. So I think they try and take Olave away with Fields, and then that leaves Joey Porter Jr. maybe to try and catch up with Wilson. And he's a good player, but I think Wilson's better. I'm not sure that Ohio State's going to worry too much about, trying to get Trayveon Henderson 200 yards or anything stupid like that in this game. So, Stroud is obviously a pick, but I'll say Garrett Wilson. Over on defense, Ronnie Hickman, to me, has been a guy who's just kind of been the Swiss Army knife all season long. Played linebacker, played safety, goes and does whatever they need. And he just strikes me as kind of the utility guy that could maybe get a pick six. He's already had one this year. If the front's able to get some pressure on Clifford and make him throw a bad pick, maybe Ronnie Hickman is the beneficiary of that. But otherwise, he'll probably have his usual 8 or 10 tackles and be around the ball quite a bit. I think we remember the Maryland game, the first drive, he had 4 tackles on the drive, the first drive that Maryland had. So he always comes out of the box ready to go hit and make plays. And I think that'll be important for this game. So I picked 2 pretty obvious ones, I think, probably the two of the top 4 or 5 guys on the team overall, but those would probably be my picks.
I'm going to go with Illinois and Ohio State are very similar to me. They're very similar offenses. Illinois was I see you looking up there, Mark. Illinois ran for 357 yards last week, so I'm going to go with Trayveon Henderson. I think if they need him to play all 4 quarters, I think he's going to have a big game. I don't know that they will need him for all 4 quarters, but Penn State losing a defensive tackle, PJ Mustafar, is not good for them, not good for their run defense, and so that will help Ohio State run the ball. The fact that Ohio State can throw it is always going to create issues with the run defense because eventually you're going to have to back off a little bit and try to tackle Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on these 9-yard, 10-yard hitches. So I'm thinking you give Trayveon Henderson 20 carries, he's going to have a big game and do something with it. It's just they've only had the need like once to give him the ball that often. And so, and I've said this on my Buckeye Weekly podcast before, it's almost for Trayveon Henderson to have a big game, he has to kind of get shut down in the first half a little bit. That way there's reason to play in the second half. And if he's getting 9 yards of carry in the first half, things are going so well that he's probably not going to play in the second half. So he almost has to sandbag a little in this game, maybe take a couple of knees, something like that when he gets out in the open. Don't want to score too early, but I think he could have a big game. Defensively, I don't know if it's going to be a big game, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what Denzel Burke does against Jahan Dotson, against the John Parker Washington, and unless I'm confusing him with an old USC quarterback.
No, and there's like that Lambert, the guy with a hyphenated name, Lambert something or other.
So I think there's an opportunity for – I go back to last year, Jahan Dotson against Sean Wade. I really want to see Jahan Dotson against Denzel Burke and see how he performs in this matchup against the best receiver he will have seen to this point. Now, he's a different player than he was to start the season, Denzel Burke. He's seen a lot. He's had some ups and downs against Maryland, bounced back well, and I want to see what it looks like against an NFL receiver, and I think we'll see that however many times he's matched up with Jahan Dotson. So I'll go those two guys, Trayveon Henderson, Denzel Burke as my two.
I'm going to jump in on something about Penn State scoring defense first and point out what a bunch of tomato cans Penn State has played so far. In terms of scoring offense, the most potent scoring offense they've faced is Auburn, 34.6 points per game, good for 24th. Ohio State scoring 49 and change, so pretty significant. Teams in the 100s that Penn State has faced: Wisconsin at 110, Indiana at 114, and Illinois at 120. So, it's like Ohio State has had this success down these last couple of games and have gone against some pretty bad pass defense type of teams. But I'm going to be quick to point out that Penn State, I think some of their numbers are a result of playing teams that are playing offensive football from a couple of centuries ago. So, a serious issue there. As to the question that was in the super chat, offensively, I think the two obvious ones have been taken, with Steve taking CJ Stroud and Tony taking Trayveon Henderson. So am I allowed to have the field? Because you guys really have taken the two obvious ones there. I'm gonna say Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm gonna say that just from his position, I don't think that I think that Penn State's strength is in the back seven, but I think their strength really is their corners, and I like their safeties too. But I just seem to think that JSN is going to be able to find the little cracks and crevices out there, and he's going to be a volume receiver, and he's going to break a couple of plays. So I'm going to say JSN on offense. On defense, I don't know. I think that it's a case of where I'm going to take somebody on the defensive line. I was going to take Denzel Burke because I think that an ineffective Sean Clifford is going to make Jahan Dotson looked pretty average in this game because nobody's going to be able to deliver the ball there. But as I was going through and studying for Tale of the Tape that runs tomorrow on Buckeye Scoop, that Penn State offensive line is pretty mediocre. And I think that somebody like, I don't know, let's say Tyreek Smith. Let's say Tyreek Smith comes in and just blows them up. I think that this could be a big week for him. I think that somebody who gets out there and sees 35 reps, 35 snaps on defense could go out there and be a world changer, especially if Ohio State is not as concerned about a mobile Clifford. And then if Clifford gets knocked out of the game, forget about it, because they don't have a Will Levis coming off the bench like in 2019. He's at Kentucky now. They don't have that as in the backup role. So the lack of that obvious mobile quarterback, I think, will allow Ohio State to really go into going for blood mode.
Yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba was my second guy because anytime he's dealing with the team's third best defender, that's an unfair matchup, and we'll see if that's what happens when he's lined up in the slot against Penn State.
I like the Penn State defense. I think it's a top 2 to 3 unit in the conference. If it's healthy, they're not healthy. They missed 3 interior linemen in the Illinois game. And one, as Steve pointed out, PJ Mustipher is one of the best in the conference, and he's gone for the season. But all the players that had been mentioned, Brisker in particular, are very impressive athletes. But they have other issues all over the place. And to Tony's point, setting the CJ Stroud over under yardage for this game at 38 yards, I believe, to match Illinois' output from last week.
You got to give me 9 overtimes too.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. There's no way he's going to get to 38 in regulation. Yeah. We're anticipating some extra snaps there, but my goodness, they, if you watch that game last week, especially when Illinois was on offense, because the quarterback taking the ball from under center like 70% of the time, it looked like a throwback to whatever, 1985. But yeah, Illinois certainly executed the game plan to throw it like 8 times and run it 51, or maybe I'm mixing them up with Wisconsin because they did the same thing against Purdue and ran it down their throats for a 357 spot. So we shall see.